When we think of the great centers of learning throughout history, what names come to mind? Athens, Rome, maybe even Alexandria. But what if I told you there was a city deep in the heart of West Africa that rivaled them all? A city of gold and books, a beacon of knowledge that shone brightly for centuries, only to be largely forgotten by the rest of the world. This is the story of Timbuktu. Forget the stereotype of Timbuktu as a mythical, unreachable place. For hundreds of years, it was a very real, very vibrant metropolis. Situated at the crossroads of major trade routes, caravans carrying salt from the north met those carrying gold and ivory from the south. This incredible wealth didn't just build palaces. It built one of the most remarkable intellectual centers the world has ever seen. So how did a city in the middle of the Sahara become a powerhouse of scholarship? The story begins with the spread of Islam across North and West Africa. Along with faith came a deep, profound respect for learning. The Quran itself encourages the pursuit of knowledge, and this principle became the bedrock of Timbuktu's identity. Rulers like the legendary Mansa Musa, the richest man in history, weren't just patrons of architecture. They were patrons of education. On his famous pilgrimage to Mecca, he brought back not only immense wealth, but also architects, poets, and, most importantly, scholars. These scholars founded mosques that doubled as universities. The most famous of these were the Sankar, Jingerbur, and Sidi Yahya mosques. Together, they formed the University of Timbuktu, a decentralized institution unlike anything in Europe at the time. There were no central administrations or student registers. Instead, individual scholars taught students in their homes or in the courtyards of the mosques. A student would study under one master, learning subjects from theology and law to astronomy and mathematics until they had mastered the material. Then, they would receive a traditional turban, symbolizing their graduation and their license to teach others. At its peak in the 16th century, Timbuktu was home to an estimated 25,000 students, which was a full quarter of the city's population. Imagine that 1 in every 4 people you met on the street was a student dedicated to learning. This created an atmosphere buzzing with intellectual energy. The city's main import wasn't gold or salt, but books. Scribes and calligraphers were some of the most respected and well-paid professionals. They meticulously copied manuscripts, creating a vast library of knowledge. And what were they studying? Everything. While Islamic studies were central, the curriculum was incredibly diverse. They studied Aristotle and Plato, whose works had been translated into Arabic. They made advances in medicine, understanding concepts like cataract surgery and the importance of hygiene long before many other parts of the world. They were brilliant astronomers, charting the stars to determine the direction of Mecca and the times for prayer. They created detailed star charts and almanacs. They studied mathematics, botany, geography, history, and poetry. One of the most famous scholars was Ahmed Baba, a man who is said to have written over 40 books on various subjects and owned a personal library of over 1,600 volumes. When he was exiled to Morocco, his captors were astonished by his immense knowledge. His story shows us that the scholars of Timbuktu weren't just passively preserving old texts. They were actively debating, writing, and contributing new ideas to the global conversation. What's truly remarkable about this civilization was its spirit of tolerance and inquiry. The scholarship in Timbuktu was characterized by debate and open discussion. It was a place where different interpretations of law and theology could coexist peacefully. This intellectual freedom attracted scholars from all over the Islamic world, from Cairo to Baghdad, turning Timbuktu into a true melting pot of ideas. So, what happened? Why did this brilliant star fade? In 1591, a Moroccan invasion, armed with European firearms, shattered the peace and stability of the Songhai Empire, which ruled Timbuktu. The city was sacked, its wealth was plundered, and its scholars were killed or exiled. The invaders, expecting a city of gold, were reportedly disappointed to find a city of books and mud brick buildings. They didn't understand that the true treasure of Timbuktu was its knowledge. The invasion marked the beginning of a long decline. The trans-Saharan trade routes shifted, colonial powers carved up Africa, and Timbuktu slowly receded from the world stage, becoming a symbol of remoteness rather than a center of learning. But the knowledge was not entirely lost. This is the most incredible part of the story. When the city fell into decline, families took on the sacred duty of protecting the manuscripts. For generations, they hid these precious books in cellars, in chests, and even inside the mud walls of their homes. They protected them from political instability, from colonial authorities, and from the harsh desert climate. Hundreds of thousands of these manuscripts survive to this day, a testament to the families who saw themselves as guardians of a legacy. These texts cover everything from complex philosophical treatises to simple records of business transactions, giving us an unparalleled window into this incredible African civilization. Today, there are massive international efforts underway to preserve, digitize, and study these manuscripts. It's a race against time, as the fragile pages are threatened by the desert climate and regional instability. But each manuscript that is saved helps us rewrite a history that has for too long been ignored. The story of Timbuktu challenges the outdated notion that Africa was a continent without history or civilization before European arrival. It shows us a society that valued knowledge above all else, a place where African Muslims were not just participants in the global intellectual community, but leaders. It proves that great centers of learning can arise in any corner of the world. Timbuktu was a city built on the power of ideas, a golden age of African scholarship whose legacy continues to inspire us. It reminds us that knowledge is the most precious resource we have, and the quest to preserve and share it is one of humanity's noblest callings. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey back in time. If you found this story as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button and subscribe for more dives into the hidden corners of history. Let me know in the comments what other forgotten histories you'd like to explore. See you next time.